Hello, good evening. It's Chioma back, and thank you for tuning in. Can we have the music die, please? At the moment, it's really loud. Thank you. Right, so hello everyone. This is Chioma Okibo, and it's that hour where you ask Chioma anything. So I'm excited to be here. And if you've been following us, we had a lot of new joiners who joined the enterprise experts this week from last week. And I want to do a quick shout out to my sister, Nkechi. And I know because she invited quite a number of her friends. And we're very excited to have you all back and have you all joining us. And I'm hoping that some of you will tune in to watch this live broadcast. And if you don't get a chance to watch it live, please be sure to go back and watch the video. I'm going to try to keep it as short as possible. And if you still don't get a chance to watch it, then I would like you to go to our website and you will get all the information. You see the video there again, and you would see all the highlights of the conversation. And the website is www.enterpriseexperts.com. Okay. Now, if you have any questions going forward, if you have any questions for Chioma in the next episodes, please send your question to info at enterpriseexperts.com, or you can go to the Facebook page and ask your question, or go to the Instagram page and ask your question. So tonight we had an interesting question from one of our viewers, and the question is, it says, I have a full-time job and I started a side hustle. How do I transition from working full-time to my side hustle? It's a very interesting question because it's a question that addresses what should I make my side hustle, and as well as how do I, once I've determined the side hustle, how do I transition to that side hustle on a full-time basis? So there are a number of considerations in if I start from looking at what considerations you should have in determining what your side hustle should be. So before that, remember that this pandemic, the 2020 COVID-19 pandemic, threw up a lot of new opportunities. And the world has never seen so many new entrepreneurs coming to the marketplace. America recorded a 42% increase in the number of new businesses that were registered. I bet if we had data in Nigeria, we'll probably have seen a much higher number. So a lot of people have come into the business, into the market to take advantage of this opportunity that COVID presented, because we were working from home. We had a lot more time on our hands, and you could do things online. I mean, what do you need really to get into business from working at home? You need good internet connectivity, you need a smart device, and you determine what you want to engage in. Now, so what are the considerations to have when you're trying to build a side hustle? The first thing to consider in building a side hustle is your core interests. What are the things that interest you? What excites you? What are the things that will make you jump out of bed? And once you found this, then find how to use that passion to generate money, to generate income. Now, before you do all that, you need to go through some certain steps. However, this night, our focus will be on, let's say you've already built a side hustle. How do you transition it to becoming your full-time business, right? So before you consider that transitioning, the first thing to consider is the scale you have built this your side hustle to. Where are you in that side hustle? Um, How much time commitment does it require? Do you have staff there? Are there people who can run it perfectly well without your personal intervention? Did you set it up in such a way that it can be run by someone else and you have proper oversight? Have you put systems and processes in place that allow you to run it without being physically present? If you have that and it's generating, and then it ticks all the other boxes that I'm going to talk about. So if you have that, that's one of the considerations to have. If it doesn't, if you can run without you being there, then you don't need to leave your job. You're earning income which complements your income that you have already. So you don't need to leave your job. You can just stay with it. Now, the second consideration to have is to check the resources you require to run the business and your level of involvement. Do you require technology, or if technology is not available, your human intervention? What are the resources you require to run that business? How much involvement does it require from you? If it requires a lot of involvement, then we look at all the other boxes that you need to tick. If it does require a lot of involvement from you, then you might have to consider leaving your full time job. But first of all, you would have established that it makes you happy, it gets you out of bed, and you know it requires your personal commitment and intervention. And the third thing that you need to consider is the quality of the cash flow. That's a third box that we're going to tick at the risk of inconsistency of this cash flow. Now, you need to have a business plan. When you started your side hustle, you need to have created a business plan. A business plan essentially tells you how much money you need to run the business, how much money the business would generate, how much you need for the business to be self-funding. You understand? So you need to be able to transfer this business, what do you call it, the business strategy that you've done to reality, and then you need to track your numbers, check how much cash is coming into the business, how much revenue, how much is your cost for running that business, and what the net position is. You know that over 90-95% of all businesses that are established fail. And the primary reason most of these businesses fail is that they run out of money. And if you don't want to run out of money, you need to know what your cash flow is like. If the cash flow is solid, can be consistent, there is no variability in it. It's not that in 1 month you make so much and then for the next 5 months it's a zero. No, that your cash flow is consistent. There is a method to your cash flow, there is a pattern to it. You can see, you can track it, you can see how it's building, how it's ramping up, and you can see how your expenses are getting smaller relative to the cash or to the revenue that you're generating. Then maybe it's time for you to consider, exiting full employment. But let's look at the fourth and the fifth reason. The fourth thing to look out for is how unique is your business? How unique is your product? Are there other people doing the same thing? The people that are doing the same thing, are there people you know that you can actually find out how they fed? Can you do some research from people who have done what you want to do to see the challenges they've had so that you will know how to arrange yourself so that you can do things a bit different from how they've done it, or you can look to other ways to doing it so that you don't have the same problems that they have. This opportunity that you've identified, that you've been working with or working on, how sustainable is it? Is it something that is likely to change or completely derail if the circumstances that brought it to birth change? So let me give you an example. This 2020, like I said, birthed a lot of new businesses. One of the most common ones that we saw in Nigeria was catering services, catering and logistics services. So a lot of people went into catering, went into logistics. Um, why? Because people were tired. People couldn't go to eat out. Okay, so they were tired of their own home cooking, so they ordered food in. Now, if we go back to our way of life, our usual way of life, go back to work and all of that, and you get a chance to eat lunch outside and all of that, would that catering, that home catering business still be a business? Would it be sustainable? Would it deliver the same kind of consistent results? If you went into logistics, deliveries and everything, when many people were working from home, when they go back to the offices, will that delivery service still be as profitable? So that's why you need to look at your, competition, the uniqueness and the sustainability of the opportunity. So that when there are societal changes, if that business is tied to societal behavioral changes, then chances are that it might not be a sustainable business. And you might have to consider doing it for a period because you want to take advantage of an opportunity, but it's not enough for you to leave your usual employment. And then finally, the last thing to consider would then be your personal circumstances. So, for example, if you have a lot of dependencies, if you have a lot of people who depend on you, whose livelihoods you kind of control, and who will be very affected if you're trying to build a new business, then you need to take those into account in calculating or computing the amount of cash flow you need to have in the business before you can take it on as a full-time opportunity. Or on the flip side, if, for instance, you have people who can support you, who can see you through the rough patches or the rough times, bearing in mind that running a business full time is not a walk in the park. It requires a lot of sleepless nights. It requires a lot of work. It requires a lot of personal, not only commitment, personal sacrifice. You give up on so many things. You cut down on so many things because what is essential is to build your business. You find that a lot of people go into their savings and practically deplete it because they're holding up the company. If you have a support system that allows you to do this, then that's great. But if you don't, you might have to consider keeping it as a side hustle and staying with your full-time employment. But guess what? Even if you choose and you've looked at all of this and everything ticks, and you go out there and you start to run your business, and something you didn't anticipate happens, well, you've learned a new skill. That's the way to look at it. You dust your CV and you go back out there and you get employed. And then you plan for the next opportunity. I hope this has answered your question. So, in summary, you have to look at the scale of the business, the time commitment, the resources required, and the level of involvement, the quality of the cash flow, risk of inconsistency. You look at the competition, the uniqueness and sustainability of the opportunity, and societal change and your personal circumstances. I hope this has answered your question. I look forward to the next episode of Ask Chioma Anything. In the meantime, join our network. Ask your friends to join our network. Forward the link to your friends. If this has been useful to you, share the video. Engage people on how to build a better business and how to be better than, better people in our work life. I look forward to seeing you next week, Tuesday. Thank you. Ciao, ciao. Good night.